Welcome back everyone. In this video I'll be importing my remaining color variables so we can close the chapter on color. I'll briefly touch on the additions I made across all three tiers. I'll show the difference between nested and unnested CSS in Builderius UI. I'll show another way to add custom CSS without a free plugin for free users, and a new harmless bug I discovered. So let's start with CSS nesting. From our previous code, we had something like this, where we have our root and we have a separate block where we have our @support. Now, the problem with this particular way of going about it is if you were to go into the selector for the root itself, not the all CSS, and if I was trying to change something inside the @support block, I'm not going to have access to it here, because this gives us access to the root and our @support is not inside the root. Now imagine you had a selector that was deep inside code and you needed to change probably maybe the support for it, or it was maybe prefers reduce motion or any other CSS media query. You have to always come back to the all CSS and look for it. You are not going to be able to find it in the selector CSS. So let's see how it differs from when you have it nested. So this is the same code with nesting. We have our roots and the support is now nested inside the root selector. So if we go to the selector for roots, we have our support. So from every individual selector, you can edit all the, will I say, dependencies if they are nested inside. And this is a very, very easy way, for more convenient way to work. So I think that's all with this one. And next is the variables I added. So let me just paste them all in. Let me just briefly go through a few of my additions. So in tier 1, I added color base from 100 to 400. These colors are used for the light mode, and the color base one is the foundation for the I think the tag, where are you? The tag component. So all these colors are based on the base 100. Then for tier 2, I added utility background colors, teal, red, and orange. And these are going to serve as the values for the tier 3 component. So that's these colors. Those will be the values for the tag. If we come down to tier 3, where I have my components, button, link, tag, and the card itself. So for button, we just have the main background color, the hover color, and the text color. Right. So this is the normal background color, the hover color, and the text color. For links, we just have the normal link color, white, then the brand when you hover. And that's all we have here for link, the normal color and the brand when you hover. Now for tags, a little bit different. The default tag background color is just going to be default color. Then we now have different variations. We have for summer, we have for edible, we have for toxic, we have for fall, and we have for spring. And these are going to end up being attribute selectors. Then for card, we just have the main background. We now have two different title variations, the main title, then the brand variation. Then we have a color text. So the background color, the title, main title, brand title, then the normal text. So I think that's all. What else do we have to talk about? Okay, the bug I was talking about. So let's save first. Now, whenever you save and reload, I think Builderius does some housekeeping and it tries to do some optimization. And depending on what you have open by the time you reload, be it the selector or the all CSS, you sometimes either have your comments removed or being compressed. What I'm going to do is let's go to selector and let me pick root. If I come to all CSS, you're going to notice all my comments are gone, completely gone. Now, sometimes if you check on the front end, you might see them, which we should probably do. Nah, I think they are gone. Okay. They are available, but in the front end, it's even a little bit compressed here. So all the spaces have been removed. I think authored CSS should be left the way it is. It's easier to read. So I think that's for this one. Then the last issue is, okay, how to add global CSS without using a plugin. In the last video, I showed how you could use a free plugin and add CSS to the header. And it's the same technique we want to use here. Let me switch to the free version of Builderius. This is the free version here. Let me just, so as you can see, this is the free version. So what we want to do is we want to do the same thing. We need to find somewhere we're going to put code that's going to show up on every page. And one of the beauties of Builderius is we get the site header and site footer for free, these components. So what we want to do is we want to go to the component. You can open it from here. If you select site header, you can just open it from there. So while you're in your site header, what you want to do is you want to make sure the first element you add that's going to precede the main, because what you have in your header comes before the main. The main is inside your page. You want to come here, elements, and add HTML. And now we have our HTML elements. We now add a style. We now have style. What you can now do is you can paste your CSS here. So let me just paste the CSS from the previous. Then probably maybe let me just add a body selector just so we can see. Let's give this a background color of cyan. Right. So let's save. So when we look at the front end, you can see we have our cyan. And if I was to look at so if we look at the body, just below the body we have a div, and inside that div, the Builderius content, you can see we have our style tag that we added, then the main content that's going to appear on every page. But this is our style tag, and as you can see, we have our CSS. So this way you can add whatever CSS you want in the free version without having access to the global CSS. And if you have maybe a landing page or a very small website, maybe through 2 or 3 page websites, or maybe just for your home page, what you can do is you can remove the HTML and CSS for the hero section. That's for your home page. You now use the HTML element, you now put the CSS and the HTML just the way I did it. So what happens is you now have your above the fold inlined, the CSS and the HTML together. Or even just the CSS if you wanted for your above the fold. So this will allow at least very fast rendering for your home page. This is not something you can do for all the pages on your website. So I think this is all for okay, I think one more thing. In my original Figma token, default is what I use, but my variables, I change them to main. And for content, where you have a content, where did I use content? I'm looking for where I use content, because what I did was I changed my variables from content text. Most people are used to text, so I just use text. But usually in my own builds, I just use content, because text, content, paragraphs, links, all those things fall under content. So instead of text, I use content. But for this build, I just changed default to main and content to text. So I think that's all for this particular video. In the next video, we're going to look at typography. And since we're going to use fluid typography instead of using media queries, we might not be able to cover the whole of typography in one video. But if it's possible, we would. If not, I'll break it into two, and we'll focus the first part of the video on the fluid typography, then the second part of the video on other aspects of typography. So thank you very much and have a nice day.